GM, everybody, welcome back to the channel. So, absolute bloodbath in crypto, continuation of the down move in Bitcoin since the stream I did last night. We've further extended those losses on Bitcoin. Bitcoin currently down 3.82% at the time of speaking today. And we can see we talked about this potential confluence around just below the 59K level at around 94,500. We had this descending trend line. We had the 786 Fibonacci retracement, and we also had these previous lows. So Bitcoin has completely sliced through there and seems to be struggling very, very hard to make any sort of meaningful bounce. Right now, we're bouncing off around the 92,000 area. Obviously, this was our December low, so we've come right back into the low for December, sort of giving up all of the gains made since that low, and we've sort of come down and we've retested some of the highs from sort of early November in here as well. So potentially we're finding a little bit of relief right now. I'm not too sure how long that relief is going to carry on. Potentially we just might come and back test this level and then roll down towards sort of 91, 92,000, which will hopefully be some stronger support. But yeah, this is tough. In a way, this was quite unexpected. Obviously, we're talking about the bullish moon. We're talking about seasonally, how we're about to go into a really, really aggressive markup phase in terms of crypto, the banana zone, Ethereum starting to break out, altcoins starting to stand. Obviously, money coming in, lots of attention. Donald Trump, MicroStrategy accepted into the Nasdaq. So, it was sort of bullish catalyst after bullish catalyst being thrown at this market, and with one sentence, a few words from Jerome Powell, from one man, he's been able to literally cause this market to roll over. Currently, we are down. I think we're down about 12%, but let's just check where we're at. 15%. So yeah, 12% would have been our support. 15% down. Okay, it's getting fairly sizable. Can we come down lower? Can we come down 20%? Absolutely, we can. Anything's possible. But I would think at some point we will see a bounce. So maybe this is it. If we are going to bounce from here, then really we need to reclaim this descending channel and this area of support that we broke, and we need to put in a little bit of a rally. And yeah, I've seen Ethereum also has come into a really major level we spoke about. I wasn't expecting this level to get tagged quite so quickly, but 3,100. So obviously we talked about this on the emergency video last night about Ethereum coming into its 0.5 from its yearly low to most recent high, yearly high. And that 0.5 level has been tagged absolutely on the money here. 3,109. We've come down to around about 3,100 on the button. So let's see. Obviously, Ethereum putting in a little bit of a bounce here. I want to obviously see more from this bounce. Right now, this is not enough. If we look at this, if this starts to fail around this support that we broke around the 3,272 area, then potentially we might just get chopped sideways in this range. We might come for a sweep lower, sort of flush this level down to this ascending trend line. This is a trend line. This is a trend line I drew in last night, I think on the stream. And then I said, look, I can actually copy this and make a parallel line connecting these highs. And I think that, well, that has been fairly significant for Ethereum earlier on this year. So potentially that parallel trend line could come in play if we do decide to push a tiny bit lower. For example, if Bitcoin does want to come down to 90,000, Ethereum might come down to around the 3,000. Obviously, big round number. This ascending trend line just below the 50% retracement level. I think there's probably enough there to initiate a fairly strong bounce in Ethereum. And like I say, if Bitcoin does decide to make another leg lower, then likely it comes into contact with the 91,000, 91,500 level. Obviously, 90K being a big round number. But if we just look at this trend line I've got in here, this is a fairly important trend line as well. It connects the highs from the previous bull run And it was also a level that we did find a little bit of resistance at when we came up to it earlier on this year. We can see we struggled to break through. We came up, we've retested it. Looks like we might be coming in for another retest. Do we dip below there, spike below there, catch some liquidity, and then start to recover, um, more aggressively? That's one potential scenario. So I'm very much looking at this ascending trend line on Bitcoin and also this. When it wants to load up this ascending trend line on Ethereum that will start to come into play soon. And I think those will be decent areas to look to bid if obviously you've got anything left to bid with. I know for myself, like I'm pretty much fully vested. Obviously, I'm doing a little bit of stuff on the leverage side. Leverage portfolio is looking absolutely awful, by the way. I've been absolutely wrecked, especially on my meme coin longs. So, yeah, that hasn't really played out as expected. But obviously, in terms of the bigger stuff, my biggest trades are Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. I'll cover Solana in a moment. But yeah, Bitcoin obviously back to 94 now. So trying to put in a bounce. Like I say, I'd really like to see Bitcoin reverse the sell-off, the whole sell-off from today to really get a little bit more optimistic and bullish on this market. Otherwise, I do think we run the risk of coming down a bit lower. So if we just look at the liquidation heat map, so here's a little bit of hoping for you. We do have, we have taken out the liquidations to the downside. So we've really seen a liquidation cascade on Bitcoin, really starting when we took out the 96K level, and these liquidations were around 95,500. And since then, we've just been bleeding, bleeding, bleeding. Now we're putting in what looks to be our strongest bounce, really, since, well, that we've had all day today, since yesterday. So yeah, can we push on? I mean, if we can push on, then obviously we have these liquidations sat here at around 100,000. If we or just below 100,000, above 90, I think it's around 99,000. If we actually go down to the 12 hours, so this is literally just over the last half day, we can see that we do have some liquidations starting to build up around 95. We've got a few more around 96, and obviously the main ones are around 99, between 99 and 100,000. So potentially Bitcoin could really put on a squeeze here and punish the shorts. And that sort of short squeeze would obviously enable prices to run as high as maybe 100K. I know that sounds very, very optimistic right now, and I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's the hoping for you if you need it. And just looking back at December monthly returns, then we can see Bitcoin for December currently down 2%. Obviously, this will update and this will come down a bit lower. I believe we're down a good sort of 4-5% now. I think this is updated daily. But you can see historically, usually December's strong, especially in halving years. So halving year of 2020, we saw 46.92% up. And the one before that in 2016, we saw 30.8% up. So this is a real outlier for Bitcoin for December of a halving year to actually close down. Do we see a bounce? I'm hopeful of one. I'm hoping we do close this month positively, but right now, obviously, things are very, very tentative out there. And like I say, January is usually slightly positive as well. If we look at January in post-halving years, which is what we're about to go into, we can see 2021 was 14% up. 2017 was pretty much flat. So usually we don't see big drops in January. So I'm thinking January, certainly if December's not positive, hopefully January would be positive. And then February, March, we see the gains start to pick up again, average gain of sort of double digits going all the way into April before starting to sort of sort of come down a bit, sort of tail off a bit in May. So let's see how we go. I'm still expecting a bullish quarter for crypto over the next quarter going into early 2025, and Ethereum as well. So Ethereum, I mean, usually we see a positive month for Ethereum in December. Obviously, the last one was, if we look at halving years, we had a really decent return in 2020, up 20%. The one before that was actually in -6. So again, to have a nearly -16 here is a pretty major outlier in terms of the Ethereum gains. And if we just look at halving sort of years or actually post-halving years, the first quarter tends to be absolutely explosive for Ethereum. And January, you can see the last month, the last January post-halving was up 78.51%. Previous to that was up 31.92%. So I'm still leaning in on Ethereum here. I still think Ethereum will do really, really good things sort of January, February next year, probably into March. So yeah, I mean, I'm personally just fading this sell-off in Ethereum just because I think Ethereum does probably get going to the upside soon. And if we just go over to the Ethereum chart again, we can see we've come into what is, for me, really, really major support here at 3,100. So I'm encouraged that we're starting to see reaction. Obviously, this is looking better than it was an hour ago when we were literally sort of down here, like waiting, is there any signs of life whatsoever in these markets, or are we just going to keep on bleeding, bleeding, bleeding all the way down to the depths of crypto hell? It's tough. It's quite obviously it's stressful if you're in crypto. I take it probably everybody, all of you watching this channel have some crypto exposure. That's why you're watching a crypto influencer. So all I can say is remain calm and remain patient. It's easier said than done. I mean, I've been asking myself, like, what's the meaning of life today and questioning my will to live myself. What am I doing with my life? Being invested in this magic internet money when it can literally do this off the back of a few words from an old man in America. It's just, for me, it's crazy, the reaction we've seen and the sell-off we've seen. But obviously, I think market makers are probably using this sell-off as an opportunity to pull the market down, to liquidate long traders, over-leveraged traders. And I think the snapback will be pretty hard because, like we've seen, shorts are starting to pile up on Bitcoin here. So I do expect there to be a snapback at some point. And if we just go on the weekly, so looking at things on a longer term time frame, you can see if we do close the weekly here, this would be fairly bearish. We haven't really broken any major weekly structure yet, as long as we stay above this sort of 91,500. And potentially, if we do close here, then we see another red week next week. Usually, if we see this sort of, change of trend, this sort of break of a sort of daily trend, of short-term trend, we can see a bit of follow-on and continuation for another week or two. Obviously, we looked at that at the emergency stream to say that usually these larger pullbacks, these larger corrections in the bull run, they tend to only last 1 or 2 weeks. And then after that, they tend to get bought up fairly aggressively, but they tend to be quite sharp and short-lived. Markets can correct through two different ways. They either correct through price or through time. And what we're seeing here is a price-based correction. This is going to be short. This is going to be sharp. It's going to be quick. It's going to correct through price. And then prices are likely going to move back to the upside very quickly. This was more of a longer, slower, time-based correction. So this is what we're seeing right now. Obviously, altcoins are taking the brunt of this sell-off. So obviously, just be a bit careful in alts. Obviously, Solana here is really sort of starting to come down. But if we look, obviously, we've got the weekly on here. We are retesting previous resistance now as support. So if Solana can close really anywhere above 186.50, preferably above 192, then I'll be fairly confident that Solana is just making a retest of this range, retest of this consolidation, and actually it will start to turn around and get reaccumulated to take off again early next year. So I'm trying not to get too carried away right now with getting bearish, but we can see that really just going down to a shorter term time frame, we can see that there was a confluence in sort of support coming in between 160 and 170. That's something, again, we spoke about last night. So potentially, if we do make one more leg lower, which I think is on the cards for Bitcoin and Ethereum, then Solana comes into this level around sort of 165, potentially as low as 160. then I think it gets a really decent bounce. Or if, like I say, Solana can reclaim around this 194, 195 area, then potentially Solana can make a run back into this channel, run to the other side of the channel, and hopefully break through. And obviously, this will coincide with Ethereum likely getting back above its support level that we spoke about earlier. It's sort of 3,276 zone. Obviously, if we just go on to the daily, we can see that this was really this start of this order block. So we had this inefficiency gap here. So I'd like to see us get back above sort of this level of support in here. And obviously Bitcoin to get back above that 94,500 area that I was talking about earlier as well. If it can get back above this descending trend line, then potentially Solana can do something similar and the markets will start to look a lot better. Obviously, what is driving this, aside from obviously Fed Chairman Powell's comments, we've got the dollar that has been rising off the back of those comments. It's on a bit of a pullback now, so potentially this pullback in the dollar is giving a little bit of relief to crypto here. Let's see if the pullback can continue or not. And also, it's been the stock markets as well. So the Nasdaq really getting hit hard. The Nasdaq looks to be trying to put in a little bit of a bounce, but yeah, I think this is really this is not looking great for the stock market. We're seeing a lot of fear, a lot of panic coming in the week before Christmas. Who would have guessed it? The Santa rally has been cancelled, and obviously, if you're long stocks, if you're trading stocks, you're getting pretty beaten up as well. But the Nasdaq is coming into major support here, and actually, that's what it has just tested. It's actually tested the high from, let's just see where this was. This was back in July. So it's retested the summer high here, and that is currently giving the Nasdaq some support. So let's see if the Nasdaq can hold this level today, and hopefully that'll allow crypto to get a bit more of a bounce as well. If we look at the S&P as well, we can see a sort of similar thing. We're sort of coming to sort of October, like its summer high, its equivalent highs all the way back here. I don't think we're going that low, but potentially we come a little bit lower on the S&P as well. And then if we look at Bitcoin dominance very quickly, so as you can imagine, Bitcoin dominance spiking to the upside as the altcoins get absolutely obliterated. And let's see if this can start to find some sort of resistance. If we actually put on a Fibonacci retracement, that will give us some levels that we can look out for. So right now, it seems like Bitcoin dominance is fighting the 618 level. It spiked all the way up close to the 786. So let's see if we can find some resistance here and start to roll over. That might be good for Ethereum, Solana, and some of those altcoins to get some decent bounces. Total 3 as well. So this is the market cap excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, and we can see that we are currently at the 382 level here. So pretty major levels that everything seems to be lining up at for now. If we just kind of go back on this one to kind of see where we've been previously, we can see we've got this high from April 2022, which is obviously the year of the bear, but after this, we saw an absolute bloodbath of everything. I remember this level really well. That is coming in at around about 820 billion. And then we've got our 0.5 coming in at 810 billion, which would be the 50% retracement from obviously the summer low to current high. So potentially, if we do see another flush down, those will be levels that I'm looking for more of a meaningful bounce. Potentially, we see a bit of a flush at the US Open. Obviously, if the ETFs have been seeing some outflows, potentially some of the financial institutions will have to sell some Bitcoin at the market open. And from there, who knows? Maybe we put in a bottom. Maybe it's here. Maybe it's later on today. But I do think the low is going to come in probably over the next few days, certainly over the next week. So obviously, as violent as this is, as uncomfortable as this is, you've just got to stay in there. Just keep it going. Hold whatever you can right now. Obviously, if you're on leverage, just be very, very careful with entries. Probably look to spread out your buys over the next week. Take more of a sort of DCA, more of a slow approach as opposed to aping all in right now, just in case we do see things really accelerate to the downside. I'm not expecting that, but obviously, we have to be prepared. We have to be prepared for anything to happen. Obviously, if this is uncomfortable for you, then just be fully aware that you're not alone. It's uncomfortable for all of us. It's been very uncomfortable for me. Didn't get a great night's sleep. But look, it's moments like this that separate that those who make money. What am I saying? It's moments like this that separate those who make money out of crypto and those who don't make money out of crypto. Okay. It separates the men from the boys. Moments like this, the patient traders, the good traders, the traders with good discipline, good risk management, from those traders that are impatient, from those traders that see this sort of sell off, and they say, "Oh, everything's going down. I need to sell," and they sell the bottom, and then prices bounce. They ape back in. Then we make another low, and they sell again, and they just end up in this sort of spiral of making bad decisions and chasing the market. And at times like this, you just need to be really, really patient. I'm not taking too much action right here. I'm waiting to see where do we go from here. Can we reclaim this 95,000 level? Can we start to push back up to 100,000 by the end of today, by the end of this week? What sort of weekly close is this going to look like? And are we going to come lower? If we do come lower, obviously making sure I have a plan in place if we go lower. If we do bounce, making sure I have a plan in place for that as well. It's likely if we do get a decent bounce to around sort of 99 or 100,000, if we go up that high, then I probably will de-risk some leverage positions, but spot positions I'm keeping completely untouched right now. I haven't touched them at all. If anything, I would be, if I wasn't on leverage, I'd probably be looking to DCA into spot positions, but obviously I'm DCAing in on leverage. Everything or virtually everything's on a 2x. Some positions I'll have for a very, very long time. Since back in the summer, they're on a slightly higher leverage because obviously they're well on side, but they're coming down very, very quickly right now. So they may be famous last words. But let's see. I'm going to leave it there. Let's see how the rest of today goes. If needs be, if we start breaking down again, I will do another emergency video just to break down what's going on. But yeah, let's just sort of send some sort of prayers maybe to Bitcoin Jesus today, and see if we can actually muster a bit of a recovery bounce. That would be lovely to see, especially to close this week. So yeah, try not to panic, stick with it, try to have a great day, and I'll talk to you all again soon. GM.